Hey everybody, how we all doing? It's Katie Hemphill here, the Mountain Mystic, coming to you once again from my backyard forest here. I have found my way halfway down this canyon on this nice ledge here, soaking up the sun. So much sun to be soaked up here as I film this at the end of February. And I'm going to start here today because, you know, I have a lot to bring you today. I have practice, I have some conversation focused on this Earth Embodiment series we've been in, how we connect into self, right? The whole beings that we are, human selves, through these bodies that we get to be in this precious life, and through these beautiful vessels that we are, connect into the greater world we are all part of, the forest we are all part of. And as I'm recording this video for you today, I'm finding myself, I'm literally up here at like 8,000 feet up in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, at the end of February, and the sun is blazing and there is no snow, none to be seen, and I'm in shorts, and it's breaking my heart again, not in a new way, because as, you know, someone who was born and raised in northern New Mexico, I know the effects of climate change, right? My forest, much of this forest, along with part of the town, burned down when I was in kindergarten, and it's burned and burned and burned again. So much of what you see me put out there comes from the burn scar. And then sometimes I come over here into the areas that made it, the beautiful, beautiful Ponderosa forest that once upon a time made up this whole land, but now is really sequestered to a small part of it. And then we have these years like this year where the snow just really doesn't come. And it's February and it's lovely out, which I can get out here and enjoy, which is what I'm doing. It's lovely out. I want to be here, kind of lizard mode on a rock, soaking in the sun. I'm out here on a trail run. I'll get running again soon. So I'm soaking it in for what it is, the joy it brings, and being very attuned to the fact that what it means, you know, what it is a manifestation of is climate change, and the way our earth is changing, I think it's pretty safe to say in pretty terrible ways, thanks to our relationship with it. We, as humans, have had a relationship with this earth for some time now, hundreds, thousands of years, that takes and takes and takes and takes, and doesn't give back in any heart-centered, reciprocal way, right? We take and we take and we take from this earth, and what we give back is toxins. You know, something about me you may or may not know. I live here in Los Alamos, the birthplace of the atomic bomb, and so much of, you know, what we've given back to this forest is just the most toxic material that us humans have created. And it leaves its mark, it leaves its scars, and it affects humanity, and it affects the planet as a whole. And because of that, we now get to live in a world where the repercussions of that are just getting amplified and amplified and amplified. Again, I speak to that, you know, being here on this land that has burned and burned and burned and burned again, so that, yes, I can find these pockets of forest that are absolutely lovely and bring me so much joy, and also It's much easier to find the burn scar, the forest that burned down and never came back. There's this story we tell ourselves about fire, and we tell this story because fire is, shall we say, supposed to work in a certain way where, the fire comes through and burns away the old, and that makes way for the new to come through. And what I've experienced on this land here in northern New Mexico is that isn't true. Or to be more specific, I want to say it's true because it's always true, right? Nature has its laws, it has its way of balancing things. In the grand scheme of things, right? Fire will come in, burn out the old, and make space for the new. But what I want to speak to is the fact that it isn't happening in the way that it once was, in a way that is, these life cycles that we can kind of see in our human lifetime, right? Like the fire comes in, burns away some of the old forest, but then the new starts to emerge. And what's happening where I live is just this cycle is taking so much longer, so that the fire that burned, when I was in kindergarten, even the fires that burned the decades before that, just took everything in a way where the forest has been so slow to return. And, if you watch me, particularly on Instagram, different places like my blog posts where I'm posting a lot about the story of that land, you'll see that, like, yes, the shrub oak, the locust, even some aspens are coming back naturally, but it's taking its sweet time. And I say this to you because it's my mission here, right? It's our objective to reconnect, or shall we say, connect into reality, by reconnecting with self. And I say self, right? So often, in spiritual circles, we talk about self as a very egoic thing, but we have to understand that self is made up of all these different parts, and the ego is just one. So we can be self-centered in a very ego way. We can also, and this is what I teach, is to be connected into self, all parts of self, in a skillful way. And that doesn't mean like pushing away the ego. That means honoring, knowing, having a relationship with your ego. So when you're acting purely from ego, and when your ego is showing up skillfully. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent to our conversation. So I want to start to move us into practice. I want to start to move us into practice that has everything to do with this connection. And again, I bring up this connection to self because it is only through our connection to self that we can actually connect into this world that we are all part of. There's this whole thread of religion and spirituality that's been going on again for hundreds, thousands of years that teaches us to disconnect from self, that teaches us that when we tune into self, it's selfish, and that we need to live our lives from a place of service that is putting all of our attention and energy outward in service to other. Now, if you know me, right, we're here. We are so in service to that which extends beyond self, right? We are in service to the earth. And with that, we are in service to life, all expressions of life, the plants, the animals, the other humans, all of it. But here's the kicker. From what we've experienced, right? And this is, just look around, observe out there. Maybe you can observe this in your own self. When we disconnect from self, when we tell ourselves, right, when we live this narrative that it's selfish to tune into self and that all of our energy has to go outward, are we actually able to connect skillfully with that which is outward? Are we actually able to skillfully connect with the world we are all part of if we aren't actually connected within self? And this is the core of what I teach, right? This embodied spirituality. The premise being that as these human beings, as these beautiful human vessels that we are here with all these powerful, intelligent, beautiful ways to connect into the world. Right, so play with me here, right? Experience this for yourself. Taking a deep breath, taking a breath down into self, right? Breathing into your lungs. Maybe you breathe a little bit lower down into your belly. Maybe you breathe a little bit lower all the way down into your root. I have the honor of sitting here on this rock directly in connection to the earth. So maybe you take this with you later and practice breathing all the way down into your root in connection to some ground. But if you're not in a situation like I am, just imagining it right now. Right, so breathing into self, into your chest, down further into your belly, maybe down even further into your root in connection to the ground beneath you. Breathing into self, breathing into self, breathing into self in connection with the ground beneath you. Continuing to breathe just like this. And if you really want to deepen in, maybe you pause this video and spend a few minutes here, really breathing down into self. Breathing into self and breathing into connection with that ground beneath you. We're going to move on now. So from this space, starting to open, and I'm not going to cue you precisely on how to open, just tuning into this cue here to open to all that is around you. So here, I'm in the forest. I can open up my senses and feel the wind on my skin. There are some sounds. There's a bird chirping. There's an airplane flying up ahead. I can open my eyes and see little cactus growing out of the rock in front of me. Of course, all these ponderosas. I can open my sense of smell and breathe in the most incredible smell, my favorite smell in the world, the high desert forest here in the Jemez Mountains. So opening up to the world around you. And as you're opening up to the world around you, paying attention to what exactly is opening up to the world around you. So you're doing the thing itself. You're tuning into the world around you as you open up to the world around you. And as you do, you're holding awareness for this. What is it that is opening to? What is it that is tuning in? And I'll give you the answer, right? The answer is you, right? It's your body. It's all your senses, your sense of smell, your sense of sight. Maybe it's your heart that's opening. With your breath, you're connecting. So I do this little practice to guide you into a truth that is that we can only be connected to the world we are all part of if we are connected into self. And as soon as we start to disconnect from self, as soon as we start to cut ourselves off, I talk about how the world teaches us to live from the head up, sever self at the neck. Don't trust the body. Don't tune into the body. Tuning into the body is weakness. As soon as we start to do that, we lose out on the ability to tune into not only just self, but all that expands beyond self. So when we live this narrative that is disconnecting from self, what we are actually doing is disconnecting from the whole world we are all part of. No wonder we all feel so isolated these days, cut off from everything. Because yes, one, we have to a large degree, isolated ourselves from other living beings. But it's part of a whole bigger picture where we've been taught to disconnect from the very beings, bodies, vessels, whatever word resonates for you, that, it's the part of you that's here to connect into everything else. So no wonder we feel so isolated and powerless, because we can't actually be in tune with the world we are all part of. So just taking a few breaths to let that one soak in. I think I'm going to keep this one short for you guys today. Just keep us focused here on this practice. I want to close today by speaking to what's happening on this greater sort of platform that I'm creating here. And that's what I'm super excited for, is to open up some doors to circles that I hold. Now, I've been holding what we've been calling a new earth priestessing circle inside the Evolving Sisters Network, a beautiful, beautiful network, for almost a year now. And it's been I'm losing words to explain how incredible it is to sit in circle. In this case, it's a women's circle, but the circles I will be opening will be open to all. What a joy, what a treat, what a gift to sit in circle with people who are connected, heart and soul, to the earth and to humanity and to the whole web of life, whatever expression it is that speaks to you. To sit in circle and to sort of orient ourselves in this sacred activism direction. I surround myself by people who are, awake and aware of what's happening in the world right now and not okay with it, but often really feel challenged when it comes to what we do about it. And when the world is in as much chaos and darkness as it is, like these times, what do we do? Well, come join me in circle. Come join me in circle. I haven't released all the details yet, but I do have calendar dates. I'm an event to kick us off. Looks like it's going to be a bi-monthly circle. Is that the right way of saying it? Twice a month. I'll be playing around with different days that best work for you all. Come join me in circle, to join me in embodiment practice, where we get to connect into self and connect into the greater web of life that we are all part of, in service to earth, in service to humanity, in service to all of life, expressing, and in service to self, because we know we can't separate the two. We each are nodes in this web of life, and any disservice to self is a disservice to how we show up for the world. And if we are to lift ourselves up and out of this great mess of things that humanity has made on planet Earth, we need to lift all of it up, all at once. That includes self, right? Doing our own healing, our own empowered transformation, and showing up for the rest of the world at the same time. So that's all I'm going to speak to today. If you're still with me, maybe closing down today with a few more of those deep breaths. into self. Sending you guys an invitation to go get outside, get your feet on the earth, maybe sit your butt down on a rock. You go place your hands on a tree. Tune into the world that expands beyond just your own self as you tune in fully as self. What beautiful work, don't you think? Alrighty guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know you're listening. I'm gonna go finish up my trail run in this beautiful sunshine that I am going to soak in today. I'm gonna feel the joy that's here to be felt. Even as I recognize that this doesn't really bode well for what's to come, but we'll see. Who knows anymore in this crazy world? Maybe a dry winter now will lead to a whole bunch of rain this spring. Who knows? The weather's wacky. It's its own thing now. Best stay tuned in, guys. I'll catch you next time.